Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the beginning of my WrestleMania Reviews series. I know what you're probably thinking. Elitist, it's literally January, what are you doing? Pretty much, given how I do these reviews and how they're going to be pretty detailed, I'm not just going to be able to really blast through these just day by day on the road to WrestleMania. These take too long to make, so I'm going to start now. So hopefully, I'll be able to get from WrestleMania 35 down to WrestleMania 1 before WrestleMania 36 happens. Now, I thought I could do WrestleMania 1 now, but realistically, no one wants to see WrestleMania 1 right now. That wouldn't pop at all. I think doing WrestleMania 1 when WrestleMania time and WrestleMania season's really going on and everything's about WrestleMania, it's probably a better idea. Because doing WrestleMania, as I said, 1 through 10 at the moment, no one would really care, so I'm doing that later date. Anyway, I'll apologize in advance if this outside and the weather, you can hear a bunch of noises in the background. There's literally just a massive windstorm going on at the moment. Can't control that. I'm just here to do the review, so hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So anyway, today, WrestleMania 35, we're kicking us off with 2019's WrestleMania. Personally, this show, I thought it was pretty good for WrestleMania. Compared to how they did most shows in 2019, this show was great. I thought, from top to bottom, this show, it was a fun little watch. It went too long. That was the main issue with it. I thought having the women main event, I liked. I was a fan of what they did with that. I thought it was history making. It was something different. They deserved it at this time. It wasn't just they forced them into the main event. They didn't deserve it. Compared to everything else on the card, this was rightfully main eventing. So I was happy with that. The rest of the card, Kofi, Kingston, Daniel, Bryan, that was excellent. Love what they did with that. Triple H Batista, I was a fan of what they did there. Rollins and Brock, how they booked that, I liked. And on the whole, most of the card I was a fan of. There's nothing here on this WrestleMania that I absolutely hated, which some WrestleManias had. This WrestleMania didn't. For the WrestleMania review series, I'm not going to be reviewing the kickoff or pre-shows. Too much effort. I'm just doing the main show because I don't care to review Buddy Murphy, Tony Nese, and the Battle Royal and everything on the kickoff show, and the tag matches. I don't care. It'll make this review even longer than it has to be. I just want to do the main crux of WrestleMania and just get out of here. So we'll kick us off, WrestleMania 35, get to the main show. This review, I don't know how long it will take. Anywhere in the ballpark of probably 20 to 35 minutes. If it's an hour, I'd be shocked. These shouldn't take too long. I'm just going to really get through these shows and get out of here. So one last thing before I get this started. Why is Bob Lashley on the poster for this show? Just why? Anyway, I'm wasting too much time. WrestleMania 35, main card. We open the show. Obviously, Alexa Bliss comes out. She introduces Hulk Hogan. So Bliss, she says that the whole show is in the palm of her hand. She's the host of WrestleMania, which made no sense. She can, make things happen at the click of her fingers. So she clicks her fingers. Hulk Hogan comes out. And they're posing together to begin WrestleMania. I thought that was fine. It's Alexa Bliss and Hulk Hogan. Really random combination, but again, Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. That's all good. From here, we go into the singles match, the Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar defending against Seth Rollins. Heyman, I love how he did this. He storms down the aisleway during the Hogan and Bliss pose thing. That was great. Heyman gets in the ring and says that Brock's not waiting around for the WWE schedule if he's not going to be in the main event. So from here, Brock Lesnar comes out. Brock looking dominant at WrestleMania. Love his WrestleMania entrances. Then this makes, per storyline, Seth Rollins have to adjust on the fly. Rollins has to open the show, and he didn't plan this. When, if you know how wrestling shows are put together, everyone knew this would open the show from backstage. Anyway, the match itself, it was pretty decent. Pretty much Rollins gets in the ring. Rollins gets ambushed by Brock immediately. Brock slamming Rollins in the ringside barricades. Brock hit him with an F5 on the floor. He slung him into the steel that sits on the ring apron. Brock throws Rollins over the announce table twice before tossing Seth in the ring. Brock screaming at the ref, "Ring the bell!" As Heyman's just shouting, "You're the Beast Slayer, right? Well, get up!" From here, Brock took Rollins to ringside once again. Brock threw Rollins over the announce table again. He slammed him into the WrestleMania 35 announce table header thing. Brock tosses Seth back into the ring, and then the bell finally rings to begin the match. Brock hits Rollins with 3 German suplexes. He then got Seth up for an F5. Rollins fought out the F5. Rollins shoved Brock into the referee. Seth Rollins then low-blowed Brock Lesnar. Rollins then hit a curb stomp, then another one, and then the third curb stomp for Brock. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins wins the Universal Championship to open WrestleMania 35. So I really like what they did here. The match is only 2.5 minutes. Seth Rollins winning the Universal Championship. Quick, to the point. The rest of 2019 would be rough for Seth, but this is a really good moment. So we move on to the show. AJ Styles against Randy Orton. I like this match going here. You'll notice a trend with these WrestleMania reviews. Styles, his matches always go really early in the card, except for 34, but 32, 33, Styles is always in this spot. It's either opening or second, so from here, before the match, Jerry Lawler got an entrance to commentary for some reason. Anyway, they're saying Orton and Styles can main event any pay-per-view, anytime, anywhere. Sure. For me, the match itself is good for the most part. Myself, I don't find Randy Orton matches fun to watch. He's just really slow and methodical. It's not a style that I love to see. I love a bit faster pace. I'm not saying everything has to be Ricochet versus Johnny Gargano, but it was alright. Throughout this match, AJ Styles was favouring Randy Orton's left knee. Styles was locking a calf crusher on Orton. Orton got to the ropes to force a break. Styles faked Orton into attempting an RKO. Styles would then hit a 450 splash on him for a near 3 count. Randy Orton would deliver a superplex from the top turnbuckle to Styles. That was a cool little moment in the match, I guess. Styles would eventually be nailed by an RKO, the 3 most menacing letters in sports entertainment, Michael Cole told us numerous times. But Styles kicked out to the shock of everyone. So Styles kicked out the RKO. I like that. Randy Orton would then look to hit an RKO on Styles from the top rope. But Styles counted into a Pele kick. Orton rolled to the outside of the ring. Styles then hit a phenomenal forearm to Orton onto the outside of the ring, so near enough a suicide dive. The match would then wrap up with a big finish. AJ Styles delivering one final phenomenal forearm to Randy Orton, 1, 2, 3. So AJ Styles gets the pinfall victory over Randy Orton. Personally, I like what they did here. This match was on par with all the ones they're doing on Raw in December and January. They're currently feuding at the moment, which the feud now is based on nothing. The feud here actually felt like it had some substance. The WrestleMania match, I gave 3.5 stars, went for 16 minutes 20. Styles gets the win. I thought it was good. Pretty good match. So basically, WrestleMania, we get Hogan coming out, Seth Rollins beating Brock Lesnar to win the Universal title in quick fashion, and then Styles Orton. So far, it's a pretty good WrestleMania for the first little bit. Then we go into a Fatal 4-Way tag match for the Smackdown tag titles. The Usos versus The Bar versus Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura. God, that's a weird team. And then Ricochet and Aleister Black. Ricochet and Aleister Black were such a fun team. They won the Dusty Classic. They were on Raw and SmackDown and NXT at the same time. The night before this, they had that match against the War Raiders to take over New York. Just great stuff. Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura, such a weird team. But anyway, just watching this match, I felt a distinct feeling of apathy for Shinsuke. I distinctly recall a few years ago, what was this, 5-6 years ago, when he was lighting the world on fire in Japan, and his contract came up. He signed with WWE, and I thought, that's a great addition for both parties. Shinsuke experiencing some US exposure, WWE get Nakamura, but then they just threw away his talent, and was in this tag team with Rusev, so super random. Anyway, that being said, this match featured Ricochet basically doing a pretzel around, pretzeling himself around Cesaro at one point, just wrapping himself around, doing a spinny thing, only to be swung around countless times, while Sheamus delivered 10 beats of the Bowdrin to one of the Usos. Nakamura, Aleister Black, and Rusev all got this beat of the Bowdrin thing done consecutively, so the Bar were on top in this match. Throughout the middle of this match, each guy would get a tag and come in with a flurry of their own moves. That's how they booked this. It was just pretty much free-for-all chaos. There was the mental spot of the mega suplex off the top turnbuckle, which featured all 8 guys in the match. That was something that you don't see much. The big Tower of Doom mega suplex spots, it looked cool. Very choreographed, but stuff like that always looks cool in my opinion. From here, Ricochet, ever amazing. Ricochet delivered a 630 splash onto Sheamus, only for it to be broken up by literally every guy in the match. That was a cool little visual. The ending to this match was done quite well. Each guy would deliver some powerful kick to another guy in the match. Ultimately, with the finish, the Usos would nail Sheamus with a double super kick before a double splash for the pinfall victory. So Sheamus gets pinned. The Usos retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. I gave this 3.5 stars. Entertaining, big multi-man chaos match. 10 minutes, 10 seconds it went for. I was entertained by it. So we go from there. That's basically the first hour of WrestleMania. Pretty entertaining from top to bottom. We get then a video package showcasing the 2019 Hall of Fame class. They're then presented on the stage. Then we move on, the Falls Count Anywhere match, The Miz vs. Shane McMahon. Going into this match, I wasn't overly interested. I think I talked about it in my Royal Rumble review, but I never cared for this Miz and Shane thing. I just didn't care for it. Basically, this whole thing with them being tag champions and everything that happened at Crown Jewel and then this whole feud between the two, it was just Shane McMahon getting unneeded TV time. Shane was all over SmackDown and he was everywhere. This match, the fact that they incorporated the whole heel turn of Shane around Miz's father, George Mizanin. I can't be asked. Anyway, thank God this match wasn't just like a regular 15-minute singles match. It was Falls Count Anywhere, which made it actually tolerable. If this was a regular singles match, this would have stank up the joint. The match we got here was actually decent. It started out with Miz coming out hard at Shane. Shane weathered the early storm from the Miz and set him up on the announce table. Shane climbed up to the top rope. There we go. About to deliver an elbow through the table to Miz, but George Mizanin got involved. Shane and Miz's dad then had this cringe exchange in the ring. Like, this was dreadful. George Mizanin, I could not care less for. Then Miz jumped back in and took down Shane. These two from here took the fight to the crowd. This is where the match picked up tenfold. They threw each other into the LED boards. Miz smashed Shane with chair shots around the crowd. They brawled amongst the foreign announce tables. They ended up at the camera statues, or structures. Statues, honestly. There's the camera structures, like the big, scaffolding thing, that area. They brawled a bit more. The finishing spots at the ending saw Miz superplex Shane off the top of like the camera structure to the floor below. But because Shane's shoulder was on top of Miz, Shane ended up getting the pinfall victory. So, that was what it was. Shane beats Miz at WrestleMania. I thought the match was good. I was entertained by it. I gave it 3.5 stars again. So it's really consistent with WrestleMania so far. 3 straight 3.5 star matches in my opinion. Just good stuff. 15 minutes 30 this went for. Shane goes over. I thought it was fine. We move on here. The Fatal 4-Way Tag match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. This, obviously we had the Smackdown Tag title, Fatal 4-Way. Here we have the Women's one. Fatal 4-Way Tags are an effortless way to get everyone onto the card. It's a match that you just chuck your whole division for Raw, SmackDown, the Women's Tag. Or just chuck the whole division into a match. Gets everyone on the show. Gives them WrestleMania payday. Here we had the Boston Hug connections of Bayley and Sasha. Defending against Nia Jax and Tamina. Natalya and Beth Phoenix and the Iconics. I can't stand the Iconics myself. I really can't. This match, basically Bayley and Sasha won the Elimination Chamber match to give themselves the Tag Team Championships to become inaugural Women's Tag Team Champions. So that was cool. Here, Nia Jax and Tamina, they're like the big dominant scary team. Natalya and Beth Phoenix is more so just to get Beth Phoenix on the show. And the Iconics were just there. And I say that, but they ended up winning the match. I don't know why. Pretty much, it was only a small touch, but I felt like having Paige getting her own entrance to go to commentary for this match was really cool. I like what they did with that. The match itself, each team had their own portion of domination during this match. It only went for 11 odd minutes. Whether, for example, those domination spots, that was Natalya and Beth Phoenix. Natty had a cool moment where she locked in a double sharpshooter on both Bayley and Sasha Banks at the same time. That was great. Or the Iconics clearing out opponents. Michael Cole made a concerted effort to be currently it's in Melbourne, Australia, it's currently 11 a.m. And it's okay, Michael, thank you. You can just list off time zones from anywhere in the world, but regardless. At one point, Nia Jax and Tamina climbed to the top rope on contrasting sides of the ring. Thank God for everyone, Beth Phoenix shoved Jax off the top rope and sent it crashing to the floor. If Nia Jax did top rope splash, that would have probably broken the ring. The ending to this match saw Beth Phoenix nail a glam slam to Bayley off the top rope. Peyton Royce then tosses Beth Phoenix out of the ring, and Billie Kay, who was a legal woman, makes the pinfall. So the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, the Iconics, aka the Moronics, God, they're so terrible. The Iconics win this SmackDown, the Women's Tag Team Championships. This killed the titles. Anything they were going for with making the titles credible, this killed it. The Iconics going over. This I gave 2.5 stars, 10 minutes 45. This was something I didn't love. This is the worst part of WrestleMania in my opinion. But we'll forget all about that because next up, we got the singles match for the WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan defending against Kofi Kingston. This was excellent. This was match of the night in my eyes, as I said before. Kofi Kingston challenging for the WWE title against Daniel Bryan. Storyline going in with this one, Kofi Kingston was scratching and clawing to break through the metaphorical glass ceiling. Basically the same storyline that Daniel Bryan himself went through in late 2013 and 2014 in the build to WrestleMania 30. Given, especially with those Daniel Bryan promos leading in where he calls Kofi a B-plus player, which is hilarious that now Bryan's a heel and he's calling Kofi the babyface that. When the whole time that Authority Bryan thing, it was heel Authority telling babyface Bryan, you're a B-plus player. So I thought that was excellent. With that being said, the match I thought was excellent. The emotion with it, with Big E and Xavier being so involved, and then Rowan just standing at ringside being the enforcer for Bryan, it was great. The Kofi Mania signs was a nice other little touch. I thought that was great. To go with the WWE personnel in the back intently watching and trying to add a feeling of importance and emotion for the match that was already there. So let's get into the match. They did the big video package and the entrances. It was great. Kofi's entrance especially was excellent. Early going was fairly technical. Daniel Bryan locked in a surfboard submission on Kofi, which looked so aesthetically pleasing as far as like pain and whatnot. Kofi hit a boom drop, Bryan rolled to the outside, Kofi then goes up to the top rope and attempts to dive onto Bryan, but instead goes gut first on the announce table. Bryan laid Kofi so that he was hanging over the top rope in the midpoint of the ring. Bryan hit a nice looking knee to Kofi's back from that position. The new Daniel Bryan would constantly resort back to basic fundamental wrestling, such as like waist holds and other grapples to slow the match's pace down. Bryan would counter a flying knee into a Boston Crab, which Kofi broke out of. Kofi would hit a top rope splash to Daniel Bryan, was hunched over at the time. That attained a 2 count and the applause of the WWE catering jobbers backstage. They did the classic boo yay sequence of back and forth punches between two guys. That would be followed by a series of counters between both men. The exchange of Bryan attempting a running knee, Kofi ducks into a roll-up, Kofi then hits an SOS for a near fall, Bryan then follows up with a label lock, which Kofi managed to break out of. It was excellent, love that exchange. These two guys got another booyah sequence in, only it was kicks this time. Meanwhile, on the outside of the ring, Rowan took down Big E and Xavier Woods, then Kofi hits him with Trouble in Paradise, and from here, Big E and Xavier Woods hit Rowan with a Midnight Hour onto the floor, which looked painful. That takes Rowan out of the equation. Back in the ring, Kofi went for Trouble in Paradise on Bryan. Bryan ducked before nailing him with a wicked running knee, which Kofi somehow kicked out of. Bryan stomps on the face of Kofi a bit more in front of his New Day teammates, which was great, just Bryan playing classic heel. Bryan then locks in the third label lock of the match. Kofi looked like he was going to fade out at that point, but he kept in it. To finish this match, the big ending saw Kofi return the favour to Daniel Bryan, stomping his face into the canvas. Kofi then went to the corner, he was thumping the mat with his boot, then hit Daniel Bryan with a thunderous Trouble in Paradise. 1, 2, 3. Kofi Kingston wins the WWE Championship. Incredible moment. This was excellent. When the final pinfall counted, it was just this big thing. Big E, Xavier Woods rushed the ring. The crowd went nuts. Commentary did a pretty good job here. Backstage was going crazy. This was excellent. New Day presented Kofi with the new WWE title, which was kind of a giveaway because they had that belt sitting on a little stand with velvet over it. So you knew there was going to be a new title. So therefore, you knew Kofi was winning, but it didn't make the moment any less impressive. It was such a great moment. 4.5 stars I gave this. 23 minutes 45 it went for. Kofi Kingston wins the WWE Championship. That was great. From here we see Kevin Nash and Scott Hall walking in the trainer's room wearing doctor's outfits. Okay. Then we have the singles match for the US Championship, Samoa Joe defending against Rey Mysterio. For some reason, Booker T was on commentary for this US title match, sure. During the entrances for Joe and Mysterio, we got introduced to the 400 different languages in which WWE had covering WrestleMania 35. So you know how they show the foreign announcers? We just got introduced to all of them. That took up literally 5 minutes. The match itself was just a complete waste of time. Clearly, the company messed up their timings or something because this got literally a minute. Mysterio hit his 619, then went up to the top rope. Joe grabbed him and locked him in a Kikita clutch. Mysterio passed out. Samoa Joe retains the US title. Went for a minute. I gave this just no rating. Samoa Joe retains. Moving on, Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. These two guys, I think this is the perfect spot for Reigns at this WrestleMania. Perfect spot for McIntyre. I was a big fan of how they booked this. I mean, just look, the entrances alone were cool. The entrances themselves are sick. McIntyre got the 2 lines of people playing bagpipes to the tune of his song, which I thought was excellent. So McIntyre came down. Reigns got his massive pyro show. The match was alright. These two, they weren't going to have a 4 to 5 star match unless they really got given a heap of time. I can accept that. This was good for what it was. The match we got here saw Drew McIntyre dominate for the majority. The storyline they were trying to tell was the ring rust of Roman Reigns in singles action because of returning to the company after his leukemia battle. Perhaps McIntyre late in the match grabbed Roman by the head and was screaming at him. McIntyre then slapped Reigns, which unleashed the beast in Roman. Roman then delivered a series of big right hands, a Superman punch, before finishing McIntyre off with a big spear to get the pinfall. Reigns defeats McIntyre at WrestleMania 35. He also beat him at Stomping Ground, so whatever. This is a solid 3-star match. Two guys, don't put on bad matches. I thought this was good for what it was. 10 minutes, 10 seconds. Reigns gets the win. So moving on to the next thing, we get Elias, who for some reason gets a segment to himself at WrestleMania, or at least that's what I was thinking. I was thinking to myself, okay, Elias is in the ring at WrestleMania. Who's going to interrupt him? It's going to be someone big this time. Basically, one pre-recorded clone of Elias comes onto the Titantron behind a set of drums. Another pre-recorded clone of Elias comes on the Titantron right next to the other one. This is one behind a piano, so they're really building this up. Then the actual Elias is in the ring. They do a little musical performance. Elias does his Walk with Elias catchphrase. This whole time I'm just waiting for some Hall of Famer to come out and interrupt him. Then we get a video of Babe Ruth in the 1932 World Series calling his shot. Then we hear the Doctor of Thugonomics music. Cena comes down in the Babe Ruth jersey with a chain on. He cuts just this hilarious, entertaining promo, which it shows how great Cena is on the mic. Cena is just outstanding. I love just listening to him just do this. Like, I didn't get down what he said. I was just enjoying what he was saying. He was just roasting Elias. Cena on the mic is so underrated. Cena is, in general, underrated. Like, I miss Cena so much. I hope he comes back very, very soon. He just so great at what he does. Compared to everyone on the current roster, Cena just schools them. So he schools Elias here. Ends up with him hitting a 5-knuckle shuffle and FU on Elias. This segment was pretty entertaining. Once Cena got involved, the Elias part I didn't really care for, but Cena was great, so I thought the segment was pretty good. From here, we go to the no-holds-barred match, where if Triple H loses, he'll be forced to retire from in-ring action. Basically, the whole thing with this was that it's Batista's farewell, Batista's final match in his career, and I thought what they did was excellent. The build, where they had Ric Flair's 70th birthday party, and then Batista attacked him and challenged Triple H. It was really good. The build was good. The match itself here, personally, I thought it was good. Shawn Michaels was our special guest commentator for this match, which I like. They had plenty of guest commentators throughout the night. As mentioned, Paige, Booker T. In this case, it's Shawn Michaels. I thought he fit perfectly here, given his connection to both guys. The guards lined up on the ramp. Batista then got out of the car for his entrance, which Batista's entrance with the two cars and him getting out was great. They did a pyro show as well. This big, just really great thing for Batista. Triple H's entrance, saw him come down the back of this vehicle. Usual Triple H entrance at WrestleMania. Really cool. The match itself began with Batista tossing Triple H over the announce table into the timekeeper's area. Batista reached to gather Triple H, but Triple H clubbed him with the toolbox. Triple H Irish whipped Batista into the steel steps. Then Triple H grabbed a chain from the toolbox and choked Batista with it for a little bit. Then the match took another step when Triple H got cutters. He held down Batista, put the cutters around the fingers of Batista before slamming his boot on the bolt cutters, which just looked sickening. That looked nuts. Then in the middle of the ring, Triple H smashed Batista in the back of the steel chair. He then placed a chair over the top of Batista before literally ripping out Batista's nose ring and holding it like a trophy. That spot was just, it was like when they did the thing with Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton and Hell in a Cell, where Orton literally ripped up Jeff Hardy's skin on his ear. It was basically like that. It was dreadful to watch. From there, Batista took control of the match, slamming Triple H on the announce table a couple of times, smashing him with a steel chair a couple of times. From here, the match had a little period in the ring with no weapons, then went out to ringside again. Batista nailed Triple H in the head with steel steps. Batista placed the steel steps on the smashed announce table. He cleared off the English announce table. Batista then attempted a Batista bomb to Triple H to the announce table. Only Triple H countered it into a back body drop. Spot we've seen many times with Batista and Triple H, nothing too new. The English announce table then didn't even break. Triple H then did a crotch chop, ran across the Spanish and English tables before spearing Batista through the German announce table. So they're really just breaking these announce tables. From here, Triple H found his sledgehammer under the ring. He got back in. They went back and forth a little bit. Batista would nail a Batista bomb on Triple H for another near fall. Michael Cole, during every cover, was just screaming, career on the line, kicks out at 2. That was Cole's line throughout this whole match. The part where Triple H powerbombed Batista onto the steel steps, then hit him with a pedigree, only for Batista to kick out at 2. That was just nuts. That powerbomb pedigree spot, just jeez. Then Batista would hit a picture-perfect DDT to Triple H on the steel steps. Both guys, after that, were laid out. Batista had a sledgehammer in hand. Triple H then got given a sledgehammer of his own by the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Ric Flair would distract Batista. Batista would turn around to this monstrous sledgehammer shot to the head from Triple H. Straight into a pedigree. 1, 2, 3. Triple H defeats Batista in an absolute war of a no-holds-barred match. This was just fantastic. I'm a big fan of this match. The stuff these guys did to themselves here. Excellent last match for Batista. Went out on far better note than he did during that 2014 run. This was perfect for him. Triple H gets a WrestleMania win. He hadn't won a WrestleMania in a little while, so this was much needed for him. I thought this was great in all regards. I gave it 4.25 stars. 24 minutes 45 this went for. Triple H goes over. I was a big fan of this, so from here we move on. Backstage, Alexa Bliss introduces Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. They're both wearing, they both say Daniel Bryan's still the Planet Champion. Then they start dancing. Ron Simmons comes over and does the damn thing. Fine. Then these next two matches, don't really care. So we had Kurt Angle's farewell match, which is pretty bad. I couldn't care less about this. And the reason I don't care for it is because Baron Corbin's in it. Anyway, JBL made a special commentary appearance for this one. Once again, I love leading with guest commentators. I still have no clue why WWE felt the need to give Baron Corbin this match and like this main event push altogether. Corbin just isn't ready, but clearly Vince just thinks he is, so regardless, Baron Corbin's getting his push. This match, it wasn't too long, which is understandable because Kurt Angle's 50. The match saw Angle do his ankle slam and ankle lock, but ultimately he missed a moonsault. Baron Corbin hit him and then end of days with a pinfall, 1, 2, 3. Baron Corbin retires Kurt Angle. Moving on, couldn't care less. The crowd was absolutely dead for this after Batista Triple H. Gave this 1.5 stars, 6 minutes 5 seconds, Corbin wins. From here, singles match for the Intercontinental Championship, Bob Lashley defending against Finn Balor. This is when Bob Lashley had Leo Rush. Finn Balor was just an underwear model at this stage. From pretty much IC champion, Bob Lashley comes out first, nothing special whatsoever. Finn Balor then came out with the full demon paint and gear on, which is cool. The demon paint just always looks sick and was by far the best part of this whole match and situation. Balor hit a sling blade on Lashley onto the floor outside the ring. Leo Rush was all over the match, making his presence felt in the 4-minute match it was. Lashley hit a wicked spear to Balor off the apron and onto the floor. That was great. Lashley hit another spear in the ring. Balor kicked out at 2. In the end, Balor laid out Lashley, hit him with a top rope double foot stomp onto Lashley for the pinfall victory. 1, 2, 3. Finn Balor wins the Intercontinental Championship here. The crowd was dead for this match because by this point, it was literally 11:30 when this happened. Actually, 11:37 it was. I wrote down my notes, so it was just too late. No one cared, so we get the announcement that the attendance of this show is 82,265, which is a MetLife Stadium record. So, knowing this company is probably 75,000 at MetLife. Anyway, enough of that. We go to the main event. Winner takes all triple threat match for both the Raw Women's and SmackDown Women's Championships. Ronda Rousey, the Raw Women's Champion, against Charlotte Flair, the SmackDown Women's Champion, against Becky Lynch. This fully deserved a main event WrestleMania, but as I've talked about so many times, it's just the timing of this match killed it. After finally 5 hours, we get to this match. Genuinely, by the time they did the video packages and entrances, this was just basically midnight for the people watching. 5 hours into the main card, 7 hours into the show. Just too much. Way too much. The first ever women's main event in WrestleMania history. I think a lot like they did that here. After the preview video package, Charlotte is shown outside of the arena getting out of a helicopter in her robe, which I thought that was great. Ronda Rousey comes to the ring first to a live performance of Bad Reputation. That was cool. Charlotte then comes out next. Then we get Becky Lynch coming out last. As for the match itself, pretty good match. It was good. Wasn't outstanding, but it was a good match. Pretty much, as I said, the timing of it killed it. As for the match itself, early on, Ronda Rousey had both Becky and Charlotte locked in an armbar. Becky escaped before drop-kicking Charlotte into the back. Ronda then gets sent off the ropes, falling onto the floor neck first, which looked nasty. Charlotte hit a double natural selection on one stage. Both women kicked out. Charlotte was dominating early on in the match. While she was doing so, the crowd was absolutely cooked. They were done. They were just, the crowd was dead. This match featured a lot of submission maneuvers. Plenty of armbars were done in this match by Becky and Ronda mainly. Charlotte would hit this top rope move to Becky Lynch, which almost looked botched. That got a near fall. Charlotte would lock in a figure 4 to Ronda Rousey around the ring post, only for Becky to break it up. Moments later, Charlotte locked in a figure 8 on Ronda in the middle of the ring, but Becky would break it up with a top rope leg drop to Charlotte. Becky spent a solid minute looking under the ring. Then Becky pulled out a table and set it up. Ronda tossed the table onto the mat and shouted, "Tables are for..." Insert the B word here. Ronda shouted the B word, and the B word with an ES at the end. I don't feel like swearing, guys. Family friendly. But yeah, she was just shouting that multiple times throughout the main event match. Charlotte hit a double spear on both women, but only attained near falls on both of them. Late in the match, Charlotte would hit another spear on Becky Lynch, but once again, got literally no reaction from the crowd. Down the stretch of the match, Charlotte got sent through the table, which was set up in the corner of the ring. Ronda hit this terrible looking Luthez press on Becky. It looked dreadful. Ronda would hit a Piper's Pit on Becky, but Becky kind of half countered somewhat and somehow pinned Ronda. It looked pretty terrible and botched. Nevertheless, Becky got the 1, 2, 3 from that. So Becky Lynch wins the Raw Women's Championship and the SmackDown Women's Championship. Because of that pinfall finish, Becky's moment at the end of WrestleMania didn't feel that remarkable because it was a really weird feeling ending. It was the first time Ronda got pinned in the company, but it just didn't feel great. I gave this match 3 3/4 stars, which is probably a little bit generous, but it's the first women's main event. Might as well give it a little bit of a bump up. This was nowhere near as good as Kofi and Daniel Bryan, and the moment for Becky Lynch was nowhere near as good as Kofi's. The moment for Kofi, the crowd was so into it. The crowd was just cooked. The match went for 21 minutes 30 seconds. Becky wins both belts. All in all, my final summary of this show, I give it a B. I thought there were plenty of good stuff on this show. If this show was maybe an hour and a bit shorter, like if you cut the Intercontinental Championship match, if you cut the women's tag title match with the Iconics winning, or if you just change the winner, you can get rid of the Kurt Angle retirement match thing. That didn't need to happen here. In the United States Championship, like you can cut a bunch of the stuff off this show, get it down to 4 hours, and this show is just killer. This show would be an A if that was the case. But anyway, the runtime just killed this show. It probably would have been nearly a top 5 WrestleMania if it wasn't for just all that extra stuff I just mentioned there. The Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan stuff where Kofi won the title was excellent. That whole 40-minute section from the video package at the beginning to the entrances to the match, to the post-match, that was all truly great and I loved it. The first ever women's main event at WrestleMania, thought was good. It wasn't great, purely due to how dead the crowd was and the botches in the match. Becky winning both championships at the end should have felt like an incredible WrestleMania moment, but it just didn't. It should have been like Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania 30 moment, but because of how dead the crowd was and how the match was done and everything, it just didn't feel too special. Batista and Triple H, I really enjoyed. Some people found it kind of boring and gave it like 3.5 stars. I gave it 4.25 because it just captivated me. I was really invested watching Batista Triple H. It was really entertaining for me, so I enjoyed that. Seth Rollins winning the Universal Championship at the start of the show was a clever booking decision, an eventful thing to start the show off, and I like that. Cena in the Doctor of Thugonomics segment, I was really entertained by, so I thought that was really good. Cena's promo ability, as I mentioned before, top of the line. As for the rest of the show, we got some other good matches. Randy Orton and AJ Styles was good. I was entertained by it. It went a couple minutes too long, but it was fine. Smackdown Tag Title Fatal 4-Way did its job. Miz Shane Falls Count Anywhere match, that went a couple minutes too long as well. Corbin Angle, that didn't need to be on the show, but I guess getting Corbin to win at WrestleMania over Angle, fine. The Intercontinental title didn't need to be at Mania. The women's tag title match, you didn't need to have the Iconics win. You could have just had Boston Hug Connection retain. The Iconics did nothing with those belts, but still, Joe and Mysterio didn't even need to happen. That could have been on the kickoff show. Literally, all of the last couple of things I just mentioned could have been on the kickoff show. None of that added anything to the main card. Anyway, all in all, this show is punished by its alarming length. 5 hours and 20 minutes is not on. WWE is not on. 5 hours 20, no. Stop it. That's just got to change next year, or this year, but knowing the company, it's gonna stay the same. We've got some notable WrestleMania moments, but due to a few too many filler matches, I'm giving this a B. If I would give this a number grade, probably 7.5, maybe 7.75 out of 10. If you want to give it an 8, sure, but I'm going to give it 7.75 out of 10. So that's the review. Hopefully you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and sub. That's my WrestleMania 35 review. Look out for WrestleMania 34 review coming soon, and the Royal Rumble review and everything come with that. So hopefully you enjoy the video. Be sure to like, comment, and sub. See ya.